Hello, hello, test, test. Are we alive? Mhm. We're cooking. Yes. Okay, good. So, hello, everybody. Hope all of you are doing well. And yes, we are going to be cooking. Specifically, this stream, what we're going to be cooking is a mana injector. I talked about it last stream, if you were in the last stream. Is looking furrier than usual. What? No, I removed I had the background darker, and there's like a layer that I used to erase the head that's left over, so whoops. Haven't been here for a few streams. Mana Injector looks sick. I'm assuming they run around and try to inject mana into Oh no, sorry. That's not the Mana Injector. That's a puppet, or one of the like invincible soldiers. What we're going to be designing today is going to be the injectors that they use to give themselves mana, and it's also going to be used by a lot of other units. So, just to give like a brief overview, uh, what a mana injector does is mana is normally held in the liquid form. Sorry, that's going to make it sound confusing. Water with mana inside it, right? So water that is holding mana is normally the most common way that mana is stored. And to actually take in that mana into a person's body, that mana needs to be released out of the water. And then the next step is to actually take in that mana through inputs. So that's what a mana injector does. It takes the mana out of the water and puts it into the person. That's it, right? There's a few extra steps that we're gonna have to cover to make it work, but that's gonna be the fun part of it. I already pulled up some references because I sort of have an idea of how I want it to look. I really want to embrace a more industrial heavy. I don't want to use the word steampunk, but it's the best word that I can think of to use, but I'm not talking about like the goofy gear steampunk. I'm talking about the cool steampunk. Um I want it to look like this sort of steampunky device that is held on like a person that does this thing. So it's a mana filter. No, it's not a mana filter. The mana is inside it. So huh? Who up injecting their mana right now? If you burn a butcher. If you burn a butcher, they die. Yeah, I use the word invincible very uh exaggeratively. Is that a word? They're not actually invincible, you know? Like you can kill them if you like destroy all of them, burn them, or like take their head and body and damage it enough. It's just more fun to say invincible soldier rather than saying semi-invincible except for some more specific scenarios soldier. You know, it doesn't roll off the tongue as easily. But yeah, so here's the idea. Here's the idea. I'm gonna draw it out so it makes a lot more sense. So mana is stored in water. So we have liquid mana like this. This is liquid mana. We need to release the mana out of this right now. There's mana inside the water. Mana inside this water. How do we release the mana out of the water? Well, first thing we could do is we could boil the water. That would evaporate the water and release the mana from inside of it. So a type of injector, a very primitive type of injector or mana injector would be one that has a water tank or a mana tank that holds the liquid that holds the mana. Then it would have a gas tank, probably some sort of burner underneath it that boils the liquid. And then here's the important part. The mana doesn't, like, when the mana gets released, it prefers to be in the air. And you sort of have to, how do I explain this? I need to form my sentences properly. I'm going to try to take it slow. Now that the mana is released from the liquid, mana is boiling off, like this, and mana is getting released here. You need to capture this mana. Otherwise, it's just going into the air, right? You're just wasting it. It doesn't go into a person's body. So you need some sort of input, which are those funnel things that mages have. You need some sort of input like this to collect the mana that gets evaporated out of the water, and then put that into a person. Like that. There you go. That's your simplest mana injector. But there are a lot of negatives to this injector. First of all, it takes a lot of energy to boil the water away, and also it makes it a lot more cumbersome because you need both the tank for the mana and also a boiler, and also it takes a while for the water to start boiling, and then also a lot of this mana gets lost. The thing is, mana doesn't all go into an input. Like, if it passes an input, some of it will go in, but some of it just ignores it. So you lose some of the mana in the process. Like, if I just hang an input over this like open boiling pot, a lot of that mana is just going to escape. Some of it's going to get collected in the input and then enter the person, but a lot of it's going to dissipate. So first improvement you could do is enclose it. Obviously you can't enclose it fully because it needs to release pressure somehow. So you could maybe funnel it down a smaller passageway to force the mana into a smaller passage, and then have an input that it's getting sifted through like this. So all the mana has to pass the input, which means there's less of a chance of mana getting past it, you know? So that's an improvement you could make. But then there's also another thing. We could play into... Why not syringe? Because you can't just inject water into you. You can't just inject water into your bloodstream to get mana. Like, we need to separate the mana from the water. You can't just do the water. And you could drink it, I guess, but then, you'd be drinking liters of water and then waiting for it to digest and diffuse into your blood for you to be able to start using the magic. So you're just pissing. You're just pissing. Inject gas. Inject gas? What do you mean, inject gas? But yeah, anyway, the other method that we could use is using criticality to our advantage. The thing with materials that hold mana is that every material that holds mana can only hold a certain amount of it. There's a limit to the amount of mana water can hold, for example. So if it exceeds that amount of mana. If there's too much mana in this water, it can't contain it anymore, and all of the water evaporates and releases the mana all at once, quite violently, right? So we could use that to our advantage. The fact that if we add too much mana to a liquid, that it releases it all at once, and we could use that to force the mana to exit the liquid by, for example, if we have an amount of water in this vessel, or an amount of, yeah, we have water in this enclosed vessel, and this water has almost the max amount of mana that it can hold. So it's at the brink of flash boiling and releasing all the mana. Then what we could add would maybe be an extra sort of tube. It's turning into a bong. I can't. It's gonna turn into a bong. That has salt crystals in it, and these salt crystals also have an amount of mana in them, and we could release the salt crystals into the water, letting them dissolve, and so the salt crystals release the mana that they're storing into the water, making it so the water goes over the saturation that it can hold, making it flash boil and release all the mana, right? This is obviously very violent and is a one-time thing. So where we can go further with this is, well, we obviously don't want to boil or like release all of our mana at once, right? We want the mana injector to be in bursts, preferably. Like, oh, when we need mana, we inject some mana into our system, but not all of it. We need a reservoir. So that means we could have it so there's a separate tank. There is a tank that is full of mana saturated water. Then that gets funneled into a separate, let's call it, combustion chamber. So only an amount of liquid gets funneled into here, then gets closed off. Then the salt gets added. So only this small amount gets evaporated. So we have multiple bursts of mana available to us. Then you would only need, multiple, or like a system that can drop controlled amounts of salt into it. So you can just press it over and over again, which means you have two components that need to be spent to make it work. Basically, you have the liquid mana or the saturated water, and like a magazine of little salt crystals. Now we can go even further. You can make mana batteries, or not batteries. Let's not say batteries, because then you can just say, well, why not just make batteries that release mana into people? It's more like capacitors. Very small amounts of manas can get trapped in loops or like meshes of metal. I some bullshit makes it work. Okay, let's just say it's magic bullshit that makes it work. But basically, we can hold a little bit of mana and then release it at a controlled time. So what we can use that for is, for example, we use the same setup like this with the crystals. But then now when, for example, it has to, or now when we flash boil some of the mana and release it, no, and take in the mana by flash boiling this, right? It cycles back some of the mana. So we don't take all of the mana. We only take most of it, and some of it gets cycled back and stored in a little capacitor, basically. So there's this little capacitor that's just holding a bit of the mana that was released by this first batch. And then with the second batch, you don't need to use salt anymore, because you can just inject more mana into it with the capacitors to let the second batch be go to criticality. Does he know? What do you mean? Hello. Does he know? What? Uh, yeah, so I think I'm gonna make that version. I like this version, where it might have... it's like a fancier... yeah, version. I can't think of a synonym. Um, a fancier version of this very simple idea is just you have a combustion chamber that's fueled by a mana or saturated water. Some of the mana that gets released cycles back and then starts the next cycle. Hey, Monster Garden, new to the stream. I dig your art and was wondering what brush you use since I started using Krita. I mean, you can see it in the bottom right. In the bottom right, you can see which brush I selected. It's the Pencil 6 Quick Shade. I didn't change anything with it, so it's just that one. What if there's a mana injecting stamp that sears a spiral looking whatever shape, attracting mana into the user's skin while also pouring the liquid mana into... I mean, that would work, but why? That seems like unnecessarily brutal. Preferably, you want an input that just, you can use over and over again. Just make an input then. How many times, or would you have to burn yourself every time? Or if you're gonna burn yourself, then just add an input to yourself and then take in mana that way. So I have a good reason to procrastinate. Oh, okay. But yeah, so this is the one that I want to use. So how do I say this? Um I'm trying to think of the words. The main appeal of, or what I want to explore with the look of the mana injector is I really want it to look very physical. Like you can see each component of it. The same way as like this. I don't know what this is. This like a scuba tank or whatever, or like a flamethrower, for example, where you can see like the separate tanks and stuff. I want that physicality to the design, where you can see how it connects and works and hisses and stuff. Reading and having different conversion methods. Well, yeah, that's the whole point. It's like there's different ways of doing it. There's not one universal way of doing it. There's ones that are easier and less efficient. There's ones that are better but more expensive and complicated. But there's also just different ways of doing it. The thing is, like for example, the input here on the exit spout, I guess that is done in very different ways, and I want to take inspiration from like motors and jet engines, actually. I think that would be a really interesting... hold on. Let's write it out so we can have like a better idea. Or I can wrap my head better around it. So the main appeal to me of the mana injector and what I really want to capture is the look of it, right? The visual aspect of it is really important and how physical it is. So the function, I'd say. Function is the most important part of this thing. It needs to look heavy. It needs to look industrial and steampunky. So industrial. And then we can ask how? How can we make it look industrial? Um and we can use inspiration from this sort of thing. We can use inspiration from flamethrowers. Blow torches. Gas tanks. Oil lamps or oil drip bottles or whatever. You can take with you. Oh yeah, sorry. Um, I guess the function we also need to state that it is what is a word for carry withable? That's not the word. Well, what is the word that means you can carry it with you? Is there a word for that? How big do you want the injector to be? It depends. I think it depends, but I do want it big enough that it affects the silhouette of the design. I think. Portable, yes, portable, thank you. It is portable. That's a part of the idea that's important. Portable. Yeah, so we could make ones that are backpack sized, that hold a lot of mana. We could make ones that are like, how big are we talking? The smallest I want to go with them is probably the size of like a I don't know. How do you, like a satchel? Hold on. Like I guess I can use this guy as an example. Like this big. This is as small as I want to go with them compared to a person. So because if they get too small, I don't think, there's no point. If they get too small, no, not a phone. That's definitely too small. Like they need to be cumbersome and big enough. Something like a bagpipe, that's actually a really good comparison. Yeah, something as big as a bagpipe, sort of. Because I want it big enough that it is a conscious decision that somebody needs to equip themselves with one, right? If it's too easy to take with you, there's no investment, right? There has to be a drawback to it, which means it has to be big enough to be cumbersome and to be a conscious decision that you need to haul this thing with you instead of something else, right? I think that's nice that there's that drawback to it. It shouldn't be too small. And also, another reason why it should be big enough is it helps identify people that use magic, right? Because if it's then you can use it as a signal to tell a person, like if they know what it is, then you can use that as a reoccurring symbol or a reoccurring feature of designs to help signify this guy uses magic. You can see it because he has one of those mana injectors on him, right? And then that makes it go, oh, okay. If it's too small, then, why am I designing it at that point? Like, if it's too small to see, why am I designing it? So it has to be big enough. Yeah, okay. Function, portable, or like a bagpipe, I guess. Bagpipe sized. And also because he's 7 foot tall. Well, that depends. That's the thing, because mages would use inputs instead. Or they wouldn't. Yeah, I guess some mages would use injectors as well. There's a different use case for both of them. Like an input on its own is also lighter, smaller, and easier to carry, but also it passively takes mana in from the environment. That's the important part, which means your ability to cast spells and use magic is reliant on how much mana there is around you to use, right? So that's like the main downside of an input is like if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you just can't use spells. The upside of an input is it's bigger, it's cumbersome, but there's a mana supply inside of it always. So it doesn't matter if you're in a mana void zone. You can always activate it, create some mana and then suck that in and use it, right? And it's instant and it's consistent. You know how much mana you get every time. With the inputs, it's not consistent. You don't know how much mana you get. So the injectors are better with cases where you need a reliable and consistent bump of mana, a hit of mana, to accomplish some sort of action, right? Uh, would that be affected by ash and the weather? What would be affected? Like the ability of an input, like how good an input is, or what would be affected? Guten Abend. What are we drawing today? We're drawing mana injectors. The thing you use to inject mana into your body. Portable mana juicer. Yeah, what was I gonna say? Right. Also, I wanted to be very so function. I guess I that can be separated into physical. I want to say physical. I want it to look very um cool. Cool is a good word. It's gonna look cool because the whole idea is you press this button and it releases some mana into a combustion chamber. It flash boils the liquid or the saturated water and then blasts steam out of the because it's flash boiling it. So obviously there's gonna be an injection of steam or water vapor, right? Which will look cool. There's gonna be so that's like one of the physical angles of it is it's gonna eject like a fucking like a like an exhaust steam out of it when you use it. Which you can imagine how cool that looks. Like the mage is gonna cast their spell, but before they cast it, they crank they crank a lever on their hip, and like you hear this hissing sound and just this really loud just like release of steam, and you see this giant cloud of fumes just like releasing out of the side of their body as like the holy shit, wait. Um I don't know if I'm stupid. Please correct me if I'm wrong. If if water flash boils, I'm not saying it flash boils by heating up. It basically all of a sudden turns into steam. Doesn't that mean that it would suck a lot of heat out of the environment? Wouldn't that also be the case? Like it would immediately turn to steam, and it would also suck a lot of heat in that process out of the environment. So wouldn't it be cool if that also like caused a layer of frost on the device? Would that be possible? Would that be how that worked? Would it get hot or cold? Steam is I know steam is hot, but this is flash boiling, so it's causing liquid to expand and turn into steam without heat. It's just changing forms. Is that possible? Like, would that make it hot, or would that make the surroundings cold? No, no, guys. What? Nah. Yes. Yeah. That's literally the same amount of no's as yes. So I don't. It would add heat. I don't know. I don't know. I'm thinking about it now. Because okay. Like think about it this way: when water evaporates, it sucks heat out of the environment, right? That is a thing in thermodynamics, right? Because like that's why when your hand is wet and you like wave it around, it feels cold because the water is evaporating from your hand, which is sapping the heat out of your skin. Yeah, I know if you boil water into steam, it's hot. I know that. But I'm saying this is through magical means. If we suddenly just make water into steam without the heat, would it be cold? Would it make things cold? Energy would be coming from the mana. Yeah, I like how do we obviously it doesn't exist. That's the issue. That's the issue where we're stuck at, I think, is because saying that water just suddenly turns into vapor because of magic. Like we can't say, like, what does magic do to the water to make it turn into steam? Like we can't say, or we can't explain that because it's fucking magic. I made it up. So like I don't know if that means that the mana, when it like gets to, like, we could say that mana is like a particle that like starts rubbing against itself when it's too concentrated, so that causes heat that then like causes a reaction to boil. So it could be hot when that happens, but we could also say that it doesn't produce any temperature, and so it just forces it to release it somehow, magic, and then just makes everything cold. How would it affect the volume? Well, I mean, obviously, if it flash boils, then it's going to turn into a bunch more volume. It's going to turn from a liquid to a gas, so that's going to expel it very forcefully. The volume increases very quickly. Be a factor as well, like through pressure, it heats up. Maybe you could say that the pressure decreases inside the injector. Well, no, the mana does it. We're not using any existing methods of, like, yeah, we could vacuum the water into boiling to reduce its uh like boiling temperature. So you're basically pulling a vacuum to make it evaporate. But that's not what it's doing either. It's magic not being happy at being too concentrated, so it boils and releases itself from the water. Make the mana heat up the water, that way you have steam and no meta metaphysical issue. I mean, I'm not worried about it too much. I think it's cool if the machine gets cold uh when you use it too much. That might be cool. It might work. We can think about it later. But yeah, maybe so steam. So a coolness factor is an important part of the design. Yeah, I mean obviously it's going crazy. I started a very not complicated, but very what if question that can't really be answered correctly. If you think the coolness is worth it, just run with whatever. Well, yeah, but the thing is, if we do say yes to, oh, mana releasing from a material cools it down, that would probably have some consequences with the future of like the magic system. Like you could definitely think of some scenarios where that can be applied in interesting ways, right? And it would also be interesting if the opposite was the case and it heated it up. That could also be an interesting use case. From what I heard, this would be a change in pressure. Yes, yeah. Like how dark matter apparently works. I'm dumb. Like I don't know about. You guys will have to decide on this shit, and I'll have to take somebody for their word in the end. Because the thing is, I'm stupid, and I can't. I don't know how this shit works. So I'm just guessing. It would also have to have consequence for. Wait. How do you avoid this just turning into having the injection machine in some tank far away? Uh, Connected to the soldiers with a long tube. Well, mana dissipates over distance, so I don't want it to be like incredibly viable over long distances, you know? Like that's just a part of the system I just decided. I don't know why it wouldn't be viable. I feel like it probably is the case that mana sort of spreads out in a material. So if you have like a really long pipe, for example, it just equalizes in the pipe, so you have a bunch of like stagnant mana that doesn't move anywhere. That might be why, but whatever reason you can come up with, I just want a reason that there wouldn't like that wouldn't be possible. It is to an extent. Like that is a thing that works. There's a unit in the world. where I want the idea to be there's a mage that's casting spells through a tube, um, and the end of the tube leads to a weapon that some other heavily armored unit is holding. So the mage is safely in a bunker somewhere, and the unit, like the heavy armor unit, is holding the end of the staff pretty much and just directing where the magic goes. And the downside of that is the spells are weaker, right? There's a they aren't as strong. It wastes a lot more mana. Electricity weakens over distance too. Yeah, then there you go. Something something. It weakens over distance. That's why it's better to have it on you. For a minimum size for this. Okay, okay, good, good. Yes, that would also be good. Okay, what were we saying? Okay, physical also means I want a lot of gauges. How do you spell gauges? Gauges. This is not how you spell it, but I'm not going to correct it. You can type it in the chat all you want, but that's how I'm going to spell gauges. Gauges, and also like I need some sort of release mechanism. That's cool, right? Like, okay, you imagine this. Imagine this. When they want to inject mana, they have to do some sort of action to activate the device, and that action needs to look cool. So it might be some sort of lever or valve that they need to release to have the combustion work. Yeah, you can write gauge all you want. It's going to stay this way. Yeah, valve or gauge, like some sort of thing that they push down and then it goes psh, and the fucking steam releases and shit. Like something awesome like that. We need that physical action for it to look cool. And then also another thing to make it look cool is we can, for the steam injection, we can intentionally make it so. Oh, hold on. We could do so much with the steam injection or the steam ejection. First of all, we can make it so the exhaust is a cool shape. Uh, exhaust. I'm fucking up all the words, but yeah. Think about this. Think about this. So because the mana or the gas that's released is what holds the mana, it needs to run through inputs to sap the mana from the gas, right? So that could influence the shape of the exhausts, which is how we can take the jet engine or like engine inspirations where it's like, oh shit, my mouse is acting up again. But yeah, where it's more efficient if there's multiple, like an input can only take an amount of mana per second. So having a very quick ejection of mana makes it so if you pull it through only one input, that means you lose a lot of mana. So you would want ones that like spread out the gas. So you have like multiple exhausts like this that are like ran next to each other like that, and all of these have like funnels inside of them. So they have the like metal wires that link up like this, and then they also like inject the gas in a cool pattern as well. So they all have their own like separate exhausts and shit, and they do this. Or you could have one where it runs through multiple layers of them, like this in a straight line, where it's like one input after the other. Or you could have one where it goes in a straight tube, but then has inputs that intersect the tube, like this as well. Like you could do so much to up the efficiency of it. How about like a turbo? Yeah, basically like turbochargers. So we can use turbochargers as inspiration. And then also another thing I thought of, the steam ejecting can be funneled because somebody said saxophone. You could make noise with it. You could put it through a horn or like a saxophone or something or like a whistle to intentionally make it have a noise. Horn, whistle, for the sake of intimidation. The same way those dive bombers, like the iconic dive bomber sound, that sort of idea, where it's like they've made a sound that is universally feared because of this device, where it has like a horn or something that gets activated because of the ejection that just signifies to the people in the trenches, get fucking ready. There's a mage on the way or something that is using mana. Yeah, Aztec Death Whistle. We can take those as inspiration. Aztec Death Whistles. There you go. Okay, cool. That's. Can you go over what this thing is? Oh, sorry. So it is a portable device that is about the size of a backpack or as small as a bagpipe or a fat dog. Whatever size metric you want. Like this is compared to a person, it's like this big. It can get bigger, but this is as small as it gets. It's a portable device that holds an amount of saturated water, which means water that has mana within it. And the device's purpose is to release the mana from the water and inject it into the person. That's it. So it's a mana injector. It injects mana into the person by taking the mana out of a liquid fuel, in this case, uh, water that has mana in it. Have you heard of a Carnix? Yes, I have heard of Carnix, so we can also use that. Carnixes are cool. Max Aura with this one, Smoke, Fog, and an intro theme. Yeah, I think this is gonna be really cool if I can pull this off. So okay, let's start. I guess. I think best way to start is not worry too much about the references for now. Just play around with the layout of this thing. How the components are organized, and also like the size differences. I feel like it would make a lot of sense that for sure the fuel tank where the liquid mana is stored is of course going to be the biggest shape, same as like with these things where the main like source of fuel is stored is always going to be the biggest shape, like this. And then we need to have that lead into a combustion chamber. The combustion chamber would of course be smaller, um and then some sort of exhaust like this. And I think the funnels are going to be the highlight of the design, right? Looking at this, a lot of the coolness factor and intrigue of this design comes from the funnels that take the mana from the combustion process. So those definitely need like a larger size to really like show off their design. I don't know if they would be as big as the tank or even bigger. Um, we can play around with that. And then we also need uh we need the salt compartment, the compartment that like holds the salt that starts the reaction. And that would be fun. Those would be most likely the smallest, right? And then we also need the capacitor, which cycles back some of the mana and injects it into the combustion chamber again. So I'm just spreading everything out so we can have like an idea of what the components are. So this is the fuel. This is chamber or combustion. This is the capacitor. I don't know how to spell capacitor. This is the salt. And this is the exhaust, let's call it. Input exhaust. Okay. That's sort of the general idea. And then we can add the decorative, like, flavor elements on top of that, which is like, of course, we want some sort of like pressure gauge. We can't not have a pressure gauge. Something that shows like this thing's about to explode kind of deal. Some sort of pressure gauge like that. Then we'd want some sort of lever that activates the whole mechanism. Then we also want the it also probably be fun to have some sort of dial as well. I'm thinking with like more complex ones of these, there would be an activation switch which releases the mana into the combustion chamber and then releases the capacitor into the mana and then poof. But then also we have a dial which tunes how much mana gets into the combustion chamber. I think it would make sense that you can control how much mana you want to receive. So this would also have to have some sort of gauge on it where it basically says how much mana you want to receive. So like 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana, and then you could basically turn it up and down, which means how much of this is going into that to combust. Does the mana enter the mage's body or no? What? Well, yeah, of course. So this whole device is to capture the mana through this process, and then yeah, I should probably draw that. So the exhaust is here, and then like these are all the like inputs that suck up the mana that gets released, and all of that. The end purpose of all of this is for these to get with a metal cable connect to an input that is on the person. So this is an input that is on the mage that allows them to take the mana that this device releases and then inject it into the body, right? And we can make this look like it sort of has a fucking device or something on it. I mean, it might just go into the body. I don't fucking care. Can you get infections through mana? No. Mana warning signs? Yeah, that would also be cool. Mana warning signs. What would mana warning signs look like? Huh. What would mana warning signs look like? That's kind of interesting. Oh, also, I guess with this device, it would not. So I'm thinking about it. Okay. So how you do it is you press this once. That releases an amount of liquid into here. Then you need to press something to release the salt for the first time. So this is like to prime the thing, I guess. Like there's a it would be single action after the first time, but the first time you need to start it up like an engine. Like you know those old Oh, that's a perfect example. You know those old tractors where you start the engine by putting in a shotgun shell? Like to start the engine? Like that. Where it's like there's an action to start it and then it goes. So, first of all, you'd release some of the mana into the chamber. Then you'd release one of the salt starters. That'll make the water go critical, release mana. Some of it's going to go into your body, but a portion of it's going to get cycled back. The portion that gets cycled back, one of those portions is going to go into the capacitor, which is going to activate the next cycle. But I think another portion of it would be interesting if another portion of it gets separated off and goes into a valve that is like automatically opened here to release the next amount of water. I think that would make sense, because then it would mean that because of this combustion, the capacitor gets primed, and this valve opens, releasing another amount of water, controlled amount of fuel into the chamber. And then this lever basically only does the job of releasing the mana out of the capacitor into the water, and causes another reaction. Then that cycles back a bit and recharges the capacitor, and a bit of it recycles and fills up the combustion chamber again. There you go. So I guess there would also need to be a cable that connects to. Oh, perfect. Right. So the cable. So this splits off one half to the capacitor, and then another portion would split off here and then go to the gauge. Because the gauge dictates how much fuel gets released into the combustion chamber, right? So first of all, it would release it would lead to this gauge, which then dictates how long the valve stays open for, which dictates how much fuel gets released into the combustion chamber. And so that then controls the combustion chamber. There. And so this lever activates the capacitor only. It's a nuclear reactor for a vehicle, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if there's something. There's definitely something that exists that works in similar ways, but I just don't know about it. Hello. Oh yeah, I just saw that on Twitter. Would make sense to use here, to be honest, because they use the shotgun shells. Since there were no reliable batteries for induction back then, yeah. How much does mana per gallon cost? I don't know. I don't want to make those calculations. Gnarlac mana oil is a thing in this setting already. It's just too hard to make. What? What the hell is Gnarlac? Who the fuck? What kind of Star Wars character ass name is that? Gnarlac? Gorlock the Destroyer's cousin, Gnarlac. Is the programming of this done with runes like the dwarven golems? Yeah. They're done with magic runes. So the magic runes would be the ones that are inside the capacitor that hold an amount of charge, and then also some magic runes that are used to open and close the valve. Oh, you know what would be interesting? Because we're doing it this way, wouldn't this mean that there needs to be some pressure inside the fuel tank? Otherwise, it'd be gravity fed. And of course, if you want a reliable combustion to happen, you can't have it be gravity fed, right? If we wanted gravity, we can make a gravity fed version of it where basically everything's just aligned in a row, so the chamber is under the fuel tank. So when you open it, it just drains down. But for this version, I think you'd also need some pressure behind the tank. So you'd need some sort of like like a bellow? I don't know. How do you pressurize tanks? I guess you could pre-pressurize them. Like you can make a pre-pressurized tank that has like just two chambers in it. One with the gas that pushes the liquid forward. Syringe or piston-like mechanism? Yeah, something like that, probably. So I guess you could. What would? Wait, hold on. I'm complicating this way too much. It's a fucking water gun. Why am I thinking about it? So, oh, you need to pressurize. It's a water gun. It's basically a water gun. Just have a fucking pump here. Just have like a little hand pump or something here. So literally just push water or push air into this side. And because the air gap's going to be at the top anyway, if this is turned downwards, so the valve just needs to be at the bottom. And the air pressure is just going to force it out of the tube. So yeah, just pressurize it with like a pump or something, and then just have that, if you want like a fancier version of that, just again, funnel some of the mana away from this, and then just have it pump some more air into the tank to up the pressure. And also it gives us another excuse to, oh yeah, that can be the perfect excuse to have the gauge. so you can see the pressure tank to see how much like pressure is in the tank to push the liquid or push the fuel sufficiently. And then we have another gauge here for the combustion pressure. That doesn't really make sense because the combustion is instant. So why the fuck would you stare at a gauge to see it jump up very quickly and then come back down again? But who cares? More gauges is cool. Do we have a Henry Ford in the universe? Or is the production done by the state? I think both is interesting. Why not both? It's interesting to explore the idea of government funded or government issued made injectors. And then it's also interesting to explore the idea of commercial injectors, ones that are created by people, or independent bodies. So I want both. I think that'd be really fun. But yeah, there you go. That's the general gist of the mana injector. Now we just need to design it to make it actually look uh, good. So I think the hard part's gonna just be orienting everything. There's so many. There's three main components. There's the fuel tank, the combustion chamber, and the exhaust. How to like order those things next to each other to make them look nice. Let's just like start. Because if I think too much about it, it's gonna we're just gonna play with three main shapes. We're gonna simplify it way down. A square for the tank, a circle for the combustion chamber, and then an exhaust like that. And then we can just play around with how they are oriented. We could do you know what this looks like? This looks like one of those simple jet engines that you see on like those crazy channels that make like jet powered car. It's not a jet engine. I don't know what it's called. But one of these. Yeah, that would be cool. Problem is, okay, so I guess if you have it like this, you would want it to be oriented like this. So that's how it would be. You'd hang it on your hip like this. Then it would eject out this way. Fuel tank. Oh, and then also the salt can be here, which is kind of convenient. Then you can have the lever or action or whatever here. You have the gauge here, and then you can have some like cool, you know, parts to like hold it together. Whatever. That pulse jet. Yes, pulse jets. But yeah, that's cool. Then we can also have one that's like just very simple. Um, we can have fuel tank. Let's make a fuel tank that's like more barrel shaped. I'm thinking about this one as like a backpack. So like we could have a fuel tank that's more barrel shaped, then the combustion chamber underneath it, like this, and then the exhaust just underneath that, like a fucking jetpack. Um, that could work. Like I'm not saying it can't work. I think it'd be the least appealing look of it. And then you just strap it to your back like that, and it fucking jumps up every time you blast a fart of mana out of the bottom. Like it's stupid. What else? What other configuration? There might be a reason why you'd want the exhaust and the chamber to be close together. So you might want to move the chamber down to the bottom and then have the combustion here. Uh, we could have the fuel here. Let's try having the fuel here. This is a bit of a weird shape, but bear with me. I want this thing to be like quite wide, maybe. If we have this be like a pretty big circle and then have those like funnels going in like that. Yeah, nah. Doesn't look that good. You see what I'm trying to do. That's way too big. Um, isn't that the same thing for armor? What? Like when you said there used to be blacksmiths and rust and trenches, who used to make ornate, original armor, but now the armor is just government issued. Yeah, yeah. I think that's also fun. Like whatever is the most interesting version of it, I like that. Um, that's an easy way to say it. Whatever you think is the best, do that one. But that's as simple as it is, I guess. Like, yeah, it's just a fun idea that if it's just government issued armor, that's not fun because then it's just one note. But if we say there's multiple manufacturers of armor, some of them might have been extinct, some of them might still be ongoing, some of them might be independent. Like all of them should exist in some capacity. Why would there only be one that has a monopoly over everything? I mean, it would make sense. Like you can say, like, yeah, just the government controls everything, but that's just not fun, you know? Now all the armor looks the same. Why would I want that? I want the armor to have different looks. So there is armor issued blacksmiths who commission groups of like a large group of blacksmiths that produce a majority of the armor. But then there are also independent armor smiths that still exist that might fix up armor, or some people that might be crazy enough to still be passionate about armor creation and make it ornate and beautiful. Or the really rare kind, which is from a bygone era, the early beginnings of the war when armor was still produced by independent manufacturers that put their own spin on their designs and patterns and shape. But those are gone, right? The producers of those are gone. So what's left is just the relics, the armors with the marks of those companies or people that used to or made those from years and decades ago. And sometimes you get those rare gems in the trenches. You see that pieces of armor that's made by that smith that was legendary, you know, back in the day, and it's still in like good condition. Somebody wore this thing and got it reissued to them like multiple times. It's been patched up, but the patterns are still there or whatever. So it's like a fucking heirloom pretty much. Uh, Also, is there different forms of mana fuel for different vehicles? Yes, yes. Mana fuel or mana is stored in a few different forms. The most common is this, which is saturated water. So water that has mana in it. But it's one of many. There are other ways. There are pearls, which are basically small pearls that come from under like magical clams. That sounds weird. Magical clams that exist around like heat vents at the bottom of the ocean, or like close to a pillar that's in the ocean. And the pearls inside them are densely packed with mana, and they're basically like Prince Rupert. They're like Prince Rupert drops of mana, if you think about it that way. They're so concentrated inside, they're basically already at criticality, but because of how they formed, they are stable enough in their current shape. But if you crack them, they basically turn into dust and release all the mana at once. Those are really interesting as well. Then there's another form, um, which is the I think I called it, yeah, it's just infused oil. Infused oil is the last form, and it's also the rarest and most valuable. Basically, that's what the Mana Core used to produce. The Mana Core was a facility that was like the straw that broke the camel's back, and was like one of the main reasons the war started. But it was a facility that produced oil, like actual oil, that was infused with mana. The reason that's so special is because oil is disgustingly stubborn. There's something about it, and people haven't figured it out yet. But every material has like an amount of difficulty. Or every material has a stubbornness. A stubbornness is how hard it is to put mana into that material. So water is really easy. You can put mana into water easy, right? It accepts it, no problem. Metal is really easy. That's why it's used to conduct mana. Like mana runs along its surface really easy and stuff. But oil for some reason is incredibly stubborn. It is so hard to put mana into oil. But somehow Burla, the country that's now the like growing tumor of a city, Burla, before the war started, figured out a way of infusing oil with mana, and it unlocked the golden age of mana technology, of magic industry. It was the beginning of that age because it's disgustingly hard to put mana into oil, but when you do, it can hold so fucking much. That's the magic of it, is like how the disgusting amount of mana it can hold. Like compared to water, weight wise, hundreds of times at least more mana dense than water. And to release that mana out of the oil, it's of course disgustingly easy too. Just fucking burn it. Just burn it in a combustion chamber, or like at the end of a flame or something, and it releases all that mana. And the thing is, it jump started the golden age of magic industry because of how disgustingly fuel rich it was. Those like giant machines, like the big rom tractors that haul like materials and stuff, that I drew, like the giant like coffin tanks, those guys, those were from the golden age of magic. They're huge. And the thing is, if you break one of those open, they suck. They are disgustingly inefficient machines. All of the machines from the golden age are bad in today's metrics. Like if you compare them to a modern day, or like modern day in world magic device, they're all really bad, really inefficient. But because the magic fuel, or the infused oil, was so good, it just allowed those really bad machines to work. Right? All the ifs were inefficient, all the inputs were inefficient. They were just burning fuel and releasing mana en masse that wasn't being used by the machine, but it didn't matter. The fuel was so good. And so, but the thing is, that fuel doesn't exist anymore. Well, it does, but it's a highly contested resource for obvious reasons. Because if you think about it, the tanks, the automatons, the constructs that are in this age rival the size of the ones in the golden age, but run off of a like 1% of the amount of energy those used. Think about that. So they're the same size almost at this age. They have tanks that big, but they run off of like 1% of the energy those guys used to use. So if people got their hands on infused oil now, think about what the fuck they'd be able to do with that. You know, they'd be able to suck every last drop of mana out of that and use it to its full potential. And holy shit, would that be something. So the need and the want to get their hands on infused oil is higher than ever. But of course, nobody knows how it was made. Burla kept that secret, those fucking bastards. So nobody know, like it the mana core was locked tight. And nobody still knows how the fuck they made that infused oil in the mana core. But it is rumored that there are secluded remaining like storages, or what the fuck am I saying? There's rumors that there's mana infused oil left in Burla, the living city that's like growing right now. That's why there are so many expeditions going into Burla, because one, if there's so much, like it was the capital of magic at the time, like so they hold the secrets of, or most likely the secrets of the mana core are somewhere in within those walls. That's the first motivation to enter Burla, is to try and find clues or maybe the plans to what the mana core used to be and how it worked. But also, Burla had an agreement with Varus where an amount of the fuel that Varus produced with the mana core built by Burla was given to Burla. So Burla has infused oil somewhere. There should be, I don't know what metric to use, but there should be so much infused oil hidden away somewhere in Burla, that should be able to be found and then used to, well, what both sides hope for, hopefully win the war. Because if they can get their hands on that, they could make whatever doomsday weapon they could think of. They could make whatever fucking super weapon they can imagine and just fuel it with that shit. Great as constructs. So let's crack it open and see their secrets. This shit sucks. Yeah, that is how it is because of that fuel. I love that thing though, or I love the idea of that. Or I think I'm really happy that that's how I wrote the Golden Age, because I think um I always find it weird when in a lot of fantasy settings there's always like that classic, oh, abandoned tech, right? Like the abandoned, oh, this is from an ancient era, they might have destroyed themselves and they left their tech over. The tech's always way better than what they have nowadays. And I thought it would be a fun twist that it's not like, oh, the ancient golden age of magic tech is so valuable because it's so incredibly good. No, the the power of the golden age is not because of the 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 technology. All of the power is offloaded to the fuel source they had. So the tech can be shit. So the tech is shit. It's worse than what we have now. It's just that they had such a good fuel source that it didn't matter. So it looks like it's this magical era where everything can work, but it was just because the fuel was so good. You know, I think that's fun because it doesn't mean there's a MacGuffin, but the MacGuffin isn't like a doomsday weapon that just works. It's a fuel source that is now that gets ever more valuable because of the tech that now exists, right? But I guess that is also still a MacGuffin. I'm making it sound like, oh my god, I'm a genius. I came up. No, that's just a MacGuffin. It's just a liquid MacGuffin instead of a solid MacGuffin. And what am I saying? This is not original at all. It's like the fucking Tesseract or whatever. Like the what's the fucking cube from Transformers? It's basically that. It's just an infinite fuel source. That's like a thing in 90% of fantasy setting. Is like, oh, this magical battery that just spits out disgusting amounts of energy so you can power anything with it. What the fuck? I'm not original at all. Oil. Yeah, just oil. But yeah, you get what I mean. It's sort of cool, but the more you think about it, the less original it gets. The Allspark. Yeah, it's like an Allspark. I think I like this, actually. I should have probably done a lot more designing before like settling, but I sort of like this shape. I like this curve. This curve appeals to me for some reason because it makes me think of those pulse engines or pulse thrusters. We could still like offload. We can still play around with it. Let's still play around with it. Let's not go too fast. We could make the tank longer, like this, to make it look more like, you know, like a flamethrower tank or something like that, like this, and then just have the curve here, and then have the combustion chamber. And also, we should play around with the shape of the combustion chamber. It could be like a like a fucking like pear shaped, I guess. Like that, and then the exhaust here at the bottom. I think that, yeah, hold on. That could be like an interesting. So like, look at this. like this sort of separation where it's even on both sides width-wise, the tank and the bottom half, but then half of or like golden ratio, a third of the bottom half is taken up by the combustion chamber, like this. So it's sort of like this shape hierarchy where the tank takes up lengthwise the most shape, but then it could be that the exhaust takes up widthwise, so it's like a really thick thing, like this, like that. Yeah, something like that. I think I like that compactness of it. We can have this stick out and like a little bit of an exhaust sticking out here. And God, how am I gonna draw that? I really want to use this. There's so much I could use. Like the possibilities are absolutely endless with the exhaust. Because I could use this. I could use something like this with like all these like pipes lining up nicely, or like something like this with them like in rows together. Like what the fuck am I gonna do? There's so much, or like this, like a big ball with like different. Uh, too many options. Add a spoiler to it. Obviously, I shouldn't make it look too complicated because the thing is, if I make it like look like an actual jet engine, it's gonna look like too much. It's supposed to be like a small portable thing, and if it looks too complicated, it's like how the hell are they even creating that thing, right? We're still in an age where like things need to look sort of clunky and old, so I can't make it look like too futuristic. But still, it's magic, so. Uh, Do multiple. Well, yeah, yeah, of course, do multiple. But I mean, like, I want to design one for now, like one that I can just use to draw on this guy. Um, but I guess yeah, let's do multiple. So, for example, let's try and do this one. Uh, so it's like an array of ones that are like this. Um, and the fuel tank's just in the way, I guess. We'll figure something out. Yeah, like this, and then all of these are the individual inputs. Um, yeah, and then all of those get funneled back into a singular exhaust, most likely. I do like that idea. Yeah, so just have all of these like funnel back into a singular exhaust like this. Like it's already getting like very complicated. That's what I'm sort of worried about. This looks like a jet engine. That's the issue. I used the fucking it's not is that a it's a like a motor, right? Or what is that? I don't actually know what that is. I think it's like an airplane motor. Yeah, that's not a jet engine. That's an airplane motor. I should be able to tell the difference. Goodness. It's embarrassing. Okay, here you go. Like this, and then how do we cap this off? Might be cool is to do one of these numbers. Why? I don't know. Just for coolness factor. In one of these, so that when the fuel ejects, it's like this. I don't know why you'd want that again, but so it like can burn your arm, right? You don't want it to like go into a safe direction. You want it to blast your fucking arm off. But like that, and then these are where the inputs are inside. So the gas gets funneled through these, then goes back in there. So the inputs are in here, probably like funnels on the inside here layered inside of each other. So you need the cable of those funnels to come out, and we can have those like run along the side of this and then join up here. Like that, and then some sort of like converter or like combiner that like adds them uh into a single cable. And then we can have that like in a T section like this, and then have half of it or most of it go off this way, and that's for, you know, the go into the person, for the person to use, and then half of it goes here, and then we have the salt thing, and the salt thing I guess can go next to this, so it just sticks out of the side like this at an angle a little bit, and then has like a little lever to activate it. And then we have the capacitor, which can go here at the bottom. And this should look a little big. So I'm thinking this is quite a major component, so you want it to like stand out a bit. Like that. So that's where an amount of the fuel or amount of the mana goes to charge the capacitor. We'll have to design how that looks. I'm just making it a barrel or like a little thing. And then we have the valve that is you'd want the valve to be at the bottom of this so you can't fucking see it. That's great. I guess we can just place the valve at the top to make it more visible. So that'll be like a chunkier looking piece like that with the lever and also the auto opening thing. And then that can also have a cable that goes there. And then you would want the pump that adds pressure to the tank. You know what? I have a great idea. Because it expels a bunch of gas when the reaction happens, why not just funnel some of that expelled gas into or like into powering the pressurizer or like the pump? How you do that, I don't know. Because it's vapors, so it wouldn't work like that. But like you can probably figure something out there where like does that and then fucking whatever something's. Oh, it could power like a turbine if you think about it. Like it just have the gas run past some sort of turbine that spins it, and then just have that power like a pump with like a little diaphragm that just pushes air through like a one-way valve. There you go. So you just have it do that. There's basically like a little turbine here, and that just spins it really fast because of the exhaust gas, and then just have that power like a little diaphragm in here, and just increases the pressure in this thing. Okay, cool. Then you would want the gauge for like how much pressure is in this tank on this side, because well that's going to be closer to your face. Like this is the front, So this is like next to your hips are here. So you wouldn't want the gauge here. You don't want to look back so you can see it from the front. And then you could see it from the back, or whatever the fuck that's. I don't think that's what the song is about. This thing looks awesome. Issue is, it looks way too fucking high tech. Okay, it looks a little too high tech. It's 100% it's this piece. That's the problem. It's like this piece looks way too fucking high tech, but what do I do? It's so cool. But it's also the part that's like the most magical. Because it's the highlight of the piece. And also it's the part that's supposed to be the main like focal point. Those two sentences mean the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we have the gauge here. Salt magazine here. It'd be cool if have like a little string here so the lid doesn't fall off. This is way too complicated. It's a good thing, I guess. Make it glass? Oh, how is that gonna help? Make it glass. Elite piece? Yeah, this might be like the high. It's a little too high tech. It's like, cause we did basically just design the most high tech version of this gadget. We talked about how the simpler versions exist with less functions, but I just decided to make the one with all of them. So I guess it makes sense that it looks the most high tech. Looking high tech, I think it could still fit in the world with some painted decorative. Yeah. I think I can definitely help push it into the right age with just some like this is like the magic of designing things for specific time periods. A jet engine doesn't exist in this world, obviously. Those don't exist. But you can make something that works like a jet engine or uses jet engine as a reference and just add little elements that'll help push the age back. I did the same. I didn't explain it well, but a good example of that, I think, I did it really well with the crawling bishop. I keep bringing up that tank. I'm so happy with that design. But when I say walking tank, you think sci-fi. That's a sci-fi idea. Walking tanks aren't a fantasy design. That, or they can be, but mostly that makes you think, oh, that's a sci-fi thing, like a tank with legs. But you can make a tank with legs work in any age by just like adding things that help pull back the era, like pull back, make it look older and older. So first thing is, a large part of why walking tanks look futuristic is because if you add full range of motion legs to them, that's futuristic. But if you add really simple legs like early automaton or what I used, Strandbeest legs, which are like single motion, no like left or right action to them, that helps pull that concept way back in era already. Because it's like, the it's walking, but the walking system is something that existed like long time ago. Okay, and then also the shape of the tank is really a big part of like how you can pull back the look of it. Because I used World War I tanks, like those like bricks, the brick tanks as inspiration. Because those make it feel really old. Early tanks were just slabs of metal, square bricks of metal with like big old welds or like nuts and bolts holding them together. So if I make the tank look like that, then it's going to look a lot older, even though it's a walking tank. And then I also used, like, because it's a square shape, I used like antique relics as decoration inspiration. Like those like religious relics that are like these like really fancy boxes with like pieces of dead bodies of saints in them and stuff like that. I use those as inspiration, which again really help pull back the time frame. So I managed to make a walking tank look like it fit in the right era. So I need to do the same with this. It's like, what can I do to this to make it look older? Um, have you ever seen the Steam Nights from Arknight? Sadly, no. I don't think I haven't seen those. Remove. Yeah. So first thing is definitely we should remove this. That's too futuristic. Or yeah, it just reminds me too much of like a modern like barrel or like a muffler or something like that. So we definitely can do something simpler. This is gonna fucking looks even more like a jet engine. What's like an old ye olde exhaust? Ye olde exhaust. How do we make ye olde exhaust? Anything that sticks out like a tube instantly makes it look like a jet engine. Fuck. Okay, I think we should make more things brick and square. It's too streamlined. It's too streamlined. These can look more. Uh, can I make these squares and just? Nah, that's not gonna make it a funnel like this or like this. Probably like this. That looks ugly though. God. Problem here is the condenser jet, and yeah, it's this thing. That's the problem. That's like really pulling it way too far forward. I'm not concerned about the gauge. The gauge is no problem. I totally believe that like gauges and stuff like that exist in the world. Like we've gotten into it's an industrial age at this point. Gauges, pressure gauges, levers, bolts, welds, those things exist. Uh, but yeah, hmm. The pipes here, those work. The tank works. Make it brass? No, not the. I get the material, but we're not focusing on the material. We're focusing on the shape. The material comes later. Like the material will help a large part as well. Like making it out of make it look rusty and old and stuff. Yes, that'll help, but like the shape itself should also still like aid with helping pull it back a little. Parallel? Yeah, I think the twisting is what getting is I can't talk. Is what's getting it to look too futuristic. Because that is like a very, if you think about it, that's a very complicated part to engineer, you know? And to think that they'd probably do it by hand, that's a lot of work for something like this. So you definitely want something simpler. As much of a shame as it is, this might be the peak of of what's possible, but we need to pull back a little. We can't have peak. We need lesser. So I'm going to duplicate this and just remove the exhaust and try and make another version of it. If I just delete the exhaust, let's see if that like helps pull it back. Yes. Like as soon as that's gone, bang. That's like good. That's fine. That whole thing is fine. Nothing there to me feels too modern. It's literally just tanks. It's tubes and pipes and valves. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the exhaust. That's how okay. Let's try and make a simpler version of it. Let's take inspiration from these. Those still look a little modern, but I think I can do those. Let's see. Let's see. So the funnels just stick to the exhaust like this. Do we want them in a row or like this? This looks like they're it's so interesting to me. like there's our brains are really weird, you know, because there's all these like tiny. This is just me ranting, by the way. There's all these tiny connections that we make between like different little shapes and cues that tell us about or like inform us what to think about something. For example, this. Like if I add circles like this, it's fine. I think this is fine. But as soon as I do this and fucking step them in a like a honeycomb sort of sequence, this makes it more futuristic. Not by much, but it feels different, doesn't it? It's literally just twisting half of them a little bit, but that's like I see that so much more in futuristic designs that as soon as I do that, it's like, oh, that's like more futuristic than the ones that are just in a row. Pattern recognition mode. Yeah, pattern recognition. It's crazy. Like to me at least, that feels like, oh, that's like bio sci-fi fucking future stuff. You know, but we need like this feels more right. And then I can also add like these fat sort of like separator rings. I'm sort of imagining like each of these segments are manufactured individually and then bolted together. That could be fun. Yeah, there you go. And then just have that lead off somewhere. Who knows? We'll figure that out. But yeah, then we can have the cables like run down the side here. Like that. That helps a lot, honestly. Already, instantly, that looks like it fits a lot more into the era that we need. It's a shame, but it does work better. Looks like a four-way traffic. Yeah, it does. Um, what if you wrap parts in like fabric so it's more like a backpack or a piece of military gear? Yeah, that could work as well. We can definitely like add more materials to it. Uh, what is the exhaust spewing out? Steam. Steam locomotive. Oh yeah. Hold on. Try looking at steam locomotive working cylinders. That is a good idea. Let's do that. Hmm. Yeah, these could be a way of doing it. Yeah, steam trains and stuff is definitely something I could try and take inspiration from. This is interesting as well. I like the like separate little tubes inside. It kind of looks like a fucking like a nuclear reactor kind of. Wait, isn't that the whole point? It's boiling water. So obviously it would kind of look. No, no, no. That's it's a different thing. It just happens to look makes me think of that. Because with a nuclear reactor, it'd be fuel rods and graphite rods and shit like that. But this is what are these channels actually? I don't know what these channels are for. Are these the water channels? I don't fucking know. Or the heating channels? So is mana just hydrogen? I don't know. I don't know how hydrogen works, so I can't confirm or I can't confirm that. Uh, I'm still not happy with this though. I think there's more that can be done to improve it because it's losing way too much swag to uh for the sake of like fitting into the right period. I think we can definitely pull some more swag out of it. Like, let's see. Yeah, that is true. All energy is just more efficient ways of boiling water. We've really not moved past that. I do still like how big it is, like the silhouette of it. So I want to try and keep that, like keep it in this shape frame. I guess another way to like pull the time period back is literally to just hide it. We, we don't need to actually see it, uh, so we can imply that there's some high tech shit going on underneath, and just put a shroud over it like this with maybe some like holes to like see it through. But that be like this would be an easy way to resolve my issue, and it still look cool. But I do want to try and like expose the components and see what I can come up with. I don't. Oh yeah. I don't know how solar panels work. That shit's just magic. Hmm. This is tough. Tough. I'm not mad about that though. I'm not mad about this. I think this is kind of. It's still a little futuristic, but it's like not directly. It's like more ambiguous futuristic because it's less literally just a fucking jet engine. It's more like, oh, it's a weird shape, but I guess if I can like simplify the individual components of it more, that might help. Oh, also another fun thing with the like the pattern recognition. This is like an easy way to get sci-fi. You see it everywhere in sci-fi. Oh, circular detail on a design. How to make sci-fi. It's sci-fi now. Whoa. Isn't that magical? Just add a little fucking design like that onto any circular bit. Bam, it's sci-fi. It's so weird. I see that so much. Or also just like randomly on the thing, like you can just add like a pill shaped. This like yeah, like a little pill shaped thing like that. Make that glow as well. That's perfect. Or if you add another ring to it, that's Warframe. Now that's Warframe. Uh, it's simple and chunky. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely because it looks simple and chunky. Warframe, yes. I love Warframe. Um, caps onto the exhausts that open when using. Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, you'd probably want that too, because you don't want anything getting into the exhaust. Have you looked into catalysts, like in a car? No, car catalyst. Hmm. Don't know how I'm gonna. Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna use that. Oh, wait. I was like an hour behind on the stream. Disregard what I said. Oh, whoops. Yeah, this is getting somewhere. I like this. It's like a weird thing, sort of. It looks kind of organic a little, with like the bulbousy metal shapes coming out of it. And I'm not mad at it. I kind of like it. I don't hate that actually. That is very interesting. That is definitely very quite sci-fi, but I think I can pull it off. And it's also still like a highlight of the design. Like it definitely draws the eye because of how weird it looks in a good way. Yeah, I think it does still look too sci-fi, but it's not like screaming like this one. This one doesn't look sci-fi, it just looks modern. This one looks like modern day. This one looks sci-fi, but it's like a like you can excuse it as being like magic sci-fi tech, kind of. I don't know how to word it, but it's less upsetting to me than the other one. Not upsetting in like a bad way. I mean, like it works more in what I need it to do. I think what I can do to really help is like if I make these caps look older. How can I make these caps look older? The way these like cables attach. I could try, you know what I could try? This might be a little complicated. I could try and put a pattern on them and sort of make them look like the cap of a beacon. I'm thinking that each of these little caps are screwed into to these the shapes. So they're all separate little funnels that get added into the main body. So each of these are like their own little components. So you could totally like if I try to add like a little boob onto it like this. I'd have to do all of them to figure out if it works or not. And also, it's just really hard because it's a lot of weird angles. Oh yeah, and the exhaust part. Like, how am I gonna? I think it'd be cool if this sort of like leads back into the body, and instead of having this be like a turbine, it could be a mix of two things. It could be the turbine that powers the pump that pressurizes the tank, but it's also a foghorn. It's basically a foghorn if you think about it. Like just have a little turbine in here and then just a little exhaust that there just screams when this thing revs up. It's getting there. It's getting there. I need to do something with these. I can't think of what I do with them. I'm not like skilled enough at designing objects. Like I lack a lot of the um visual library. Like I severely lack in the visual library department when it comes to like objects. So it that's always the limiting factor for me with designing objects, where like those people that just or not just draw mechs, but like are more focused on drawing mechs, they make such incredible like little objects and stuff because their visual library of how things can look and what things they can pull from is just incredible. But I just don't have that yet, you know, like that takes so much effort and time to like build that up. And I just have a very honestly, I have a very lacking visual library in any sense. Um, I think I've just not done enough practice in that field. Really should. I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. Yeah, I need to do something with these. Is there? I need to do something with them. I don't know what though. Where's the pump at? Like somewhere in there, like in here. I don't know what a what a diaphragm pump would look like. Too lazy to pull up references. It's probably under this. You know what? Here, I'm gonna Well, yeah, let's just like fake it in. It definitely wouldn't be this way, but just to like make it show there, just have like a something there like that, and then that like pulls air somehow. You know how this turbine makes this go back and forth. I don't fucking know. Um, Implying these going in and out. Those don't go in and out though. Those are stationary. Also, I think I can definitely like make these components weirder shapes. I think. No, that's too shit. That looks shit. It's an insane bong. It's fucking the craziest bong you've ever seen. What am I doing? What am I doing with this piece? I don't know what I'm doing. Will you also design one of these for Varus? Oh yeah. Varus ones would definitely be more nice. Nice looking. Yeah, what am I doing? I'm losing a little bit of track here. I'm like starting to lose focus and not really I'm not as like sure of where I'm trying to go with it. Oh, I forgot the dial. Completely forgot the dial. Where would the dial be? I feel like it'd be somewhere here. Or like here? I can definitely finagle it somewhere in there. And also you need a way to refuel the damn tank. That's also something. So we need to add a cap to the tank. Uh, I think the handle's gonna really help dictate how big this thing is, so I'm gonna make the handle a bit bigger. Gauge. Gauge could be on this side. Like, it doesn't have to... Like, not everything needs to be on this side. So we can just say that the gauge is, like, on that other side to just keep it from being way too busy. Starting to look too modern with more detail. Yeah. What do I do? What do I do? A cord to pull? Then a lever? Yeah, you're right. I haven't even considered cords. Cords would be very cool. Let's do a cord. Cord like on a steam whistle. How does that look? Steam whistle. Oh. I like, you know what I like about the steam whistles I just looked up? I like how the or the pulley system like is further away from, like, it's basically just activating a lever. It's a spring lever that gets pulled by a cord, but that really helps like make it look yoldy. Problem is the lever is, or what it's activating is pretty much here. So I mean, it could be that I don't know why it would do it this way, but let's just say it does. So basically, the lever is just lying against the tank here, and probably is like string or spring tensioned somehow, and then that lever has the string come to the front here and then hang through a loop here. So pulling this just pulls this lever forward. Why? I don't know, but it makes us be able to use a loop instead or a spring instead. Oh, wait. Yeah, we could have it have a handle. Like a fucking yeah, like some of the steam whistles have like a toilet style flush handle. Like that? With like a pommel? Would a pommel be weird? It's a weird way of starting it, but I can see it. Can I see this on this guy's hip though? That's what I'm thinking is like do I see this thing being equipped by that guy? I think a crank would go hard. I mean, yeah, it can go multiple ways. Like we can do cranks, we can do whatever. Oh God. It looks so much more complex. Like I wanted to sort of take a inspiration from beacons as well, somehow. I don't know how. Like just the details and stuff. Like this thing looks I definitely want to remove this. That's too much clutter. Let's try and remove a few elements that just add too much. Definitely think we can clean this up more to make it more clearly a valve. Just have this and then a larger component here. Like that. So that's clearly like the valve component. And yeah, I don't like the fucking ripcord. Aggressive enough? Aggressive? I mean, there's nothing about this that should be aggressive. It's a fucking mana injector. It's not a weapon, so luckily it doesn't need to look aggressive. Let's do something like that. Why? I don't know. But I'm gravitating towards it. Something sort of swooshy. Ugh. Okay, you know what I think we should try? I'm gonna take this, Control C, Control V it, and I'm gonna try drawing it on somebody. I think that'll help us like visualize it a lot more. Also, this lever needs to be bigger. This thing's like a fucking so complex for something that should do a simple task. We did make like a very complicated thing. It's just a very high detail piece for something that's gonna be that size on somebody's hip. And then they'd reach over like this and then, push it down. So it needs to be a little bigger, I think. kind of like it in a weird way. Let's say like his arm got cut off, so that's why he's using it. So we can also see the damn thing. I I think yeah, the issue is I just didn't draw it on a person. Cuz we have to accept okay, we have to accept the fact it is supposed to look more high tech than the rest of it by a certain degree, right? Like that's just a part of it. It's just going to look weird because it's in an air. My world is a complete mishmash. It's a dude with a metal mask and medieval-esque armor, and under the medieval armor is a Gambeson style uniform that sort of looks like a World War One trench coat, and they're using revolving no magazine fed flintlocks and mana injectors that look like jet engines. Like the mix is whack from the get-go. I can't how what else I don't know what else to do. I think it's fine. I think it's fine cuz the whole idea is it's magic. That thing is magic. And magic tech looks weird cuz magic is weird. So why would it look like it fits in? It's magic. Like the thing that helps pull magic back aesthetically is the shell. Cuz if you think about it, okay, the crawling bishop, the example that I said of like, oh, it pulls back and makes it look less modern or less sci-fi by having like legs. Or by making it like square shaped and stuff like that. The reason I can do that is because it has a shell. There are complex and very sci-fi looking components inside of the crawling bishop. But because its shell looks old, it works. This thing doesn't have a shell on it, right? This is the raw components. So I guess I could always put a shell on the components to help pull it back. Right? Is fitting. Yeah. So I think it's fine that this looks out of whack. Yeah, and then the fucking like that dude, that's gonna be so badass. Like fucking oh no, my arm fell off. Let me just turn this lever, giant plume of smoke, aura farming, and just slap a new arm on and it like mends to my like it fuses to my body and my like the fingers like the classic like hand movement fingers like twitching and shit and then it you can like continue moving. That's fucking awesome. Has Simon cracked a monster? What the fuck? The fuck does cracked mean? What do you mean cracked a Monza? Give me samurai vibes? Yeah, totally, totally. I know exactly why it gives you samurai. Well, I can't put it into words, but I get it. I get it. It gives me samurai vibes too, because it's like this cool. There's a connection between like samurai and like cool aura farming actions, and this is definitely like one of those cool aura farming actions. Yeah, and also just because, well, it's like on the hip, on the side, and the hand comes up sort of the same way it would come up if he was drawing a samurai sword. So I can see it. But yeah, that's sort of the size compared to a person, or in this case, the I'm blanking on the name. The fucking the puppets, the dolls, butchers. Yeah, I think it helps. The other elements are definitely going to help pull it together, because he has medieval armor on, but there's like these weird like pustule ducts or like oozing black liquid and like the pipes coming out from under the mask and like the gas mask inside the mouth and shit. Uh, and then also like the gun. Oh yeah, this looks fucking awesome. This looks awesome. This guy looks sick. How is he gonna hold on to the gun? Oh, you know what? I feel like they'd have the gun on a sling, so that they can just let go of it and have it hang on their side. So he just has his gun like slung over his shoulder like this. It's just loosely hanging on him. Oh my god, the aura farming, the absolute aura farming of this guy. I love the masks or the mask. Thank you. Yeah, I love the idea behind the mask because I came up with a really neat reason why they have like the human faced masks. Don't you think people would try to shoot the injector? Well, yeah, of course. That's not a problem though. Like having weak points isn't bad. That's good. Like think about it in a game design perspective. Would you want people to be able to have a choice of like, oh shit, I know what that is. That's a weak point and shoot it, or just have it be, you know, perfectly protected. That's not a weak point. Fuck you. No fun game mechanics. Like game mechanics wise, I think having intentional weak points and downsides is great. That's perfect. It should be that way. I could farm some serious aura off of this. Yeah. Like I would put a shield on it. Well, yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. It makes sense that you'd put a shield on it. I agree. You should put a shield on it, but for the sake of showing it off, with in this case, I just I'm deciding, well, let's just have it open. Like I definitely have like a shroud over this portion. That's definitely like a weak spot. And then also have like another sort of molded case that covers. Well, actually, if you think about it, I don't think. Okay, think about it. Um, to cover up this, like it's already a heavy component. If you want to cover it up with an amount of metal that would actually protect it from gunfire, it would be way too heavy, right? It would get way too heavy. So that's not practical. And also, would you need to cover it up? Because if they shoot it, it breaks, yes. But there's nothing there to really explode. Like it seems like something that would explode, but there's not really anything that would explode. If the tank gets, I guess the tank would like release some gas because it's pressurized, but that's about it. It's not like crazy pressurized. It's like water gun level of pressurized just to push the liquids through the pipes. Um, and this isn't going critical on its own if you shoot it. The salt isn't gonna have it go critical if it's not in prolonged contact with it. There's no like crazy amounts of stored mana that would get released. I guess the only way it would short circuit and like explode would be if you hit the salt into the fuel tank and have it react. Or maybe in like a freak accident where you hit the converter and it releases the mana or somehow like breaks the seal of the valves and makes the mana react back into the fuel. Oh, so I guess it could explode if it gets shot, it damages some component, and then you try using it. Guess that's also cool. It's like, yeah, it can explode, but it would more likely explode when they try using it. So it's like a delayed thing, which might be fun. Where it's like you shoot it and you're like, oh, nothing happens. And then you keep fighting the guy. And then when he goes to use the thing, it just explodes on him. Um, which I think would be cool because then you're like, oh shit, oh, that did actually do something. It just didn't, you know, it didn't react yet. Put a cap on it. Oh, like this. Yeah, I could definitely put like one of these bad boys on there. There you go. Holy shit. These aura farming. I'm really happy with this. I don't think we're gonna go much further than this. I'm gonna spend some time to like draw this out on my own, but I am so happy with that. There's definitely a lot of potential with it. Like there's so many different combinations and variations, styles and themes of these devices you can make with different parts and stuff. And complexities. Like this is the most complex variety of this thing. There are more rusty, shitty versions of this you can make that have simpler uses or simpler cycles and stuff. So yeah, wouldn't they try to use it like a kamikaze? Well, I don't think it would explode that violently. It wouldn't like evaporate all of them. It would probably blast their arm and leg off at most, which would stop them. but as soon as the rest of their party catches up or something, they're just going to patch them back up again. Because even if they are left incapacitated, um, if somebody eventually finds them, they'll just get them back up. Uh, so yeah, it wouldn't be a point for them to do that to themselves, but it would still give you a reason to do it to them. Because you can, if one of their legs and arms fall off, they're pretty much out of the battle. You know, it's gonna take a while for them to get patched back up, which means they're just out of the battle. Um, Thinking about it game mechanics wise again, which pretty much counts as them being dead. Like they're just not contributing to the fight anymore. Uh, but lore wise, they would get patched back up. Sounds like a great game mechanic. Yeah, I think so. Because it's like, if you think about it, I'm thinking if it's just a straight up explosive weak spot that takes them out, it's not because it's so big. Like it's big, right? If it's a weak spot that just immediately explodes and takes them out, that's not fun because then you're basically just shooting them there and it takes them out of the fight, one shot, one kill. But because it's a delayed explosion and them attempting to activate the device is tied to them taking damage, it would mean that you would still need to fight them to a certain degree. It's just that the first time or whenever they try to heal themselves again, that's when they'll explode. So you hit their weak spot, it's weakened now, and then you still fight them, and now you just get to cut the fight shorter because they'll get taken out the first time they try to heal, which I think is fun. I think that is fun. Yeah, because it forces you still to fight them, which I think is good. You know, it still makes them scary, even though they have a very clear weak spot, because you still need to get them to the point where they actually activate it, which in itself would probably be very tedious. Hair, twigs, yeah, it's just hay stuck in the helmet because they tried to like make it look like hair. I love it when he says "let's mana" and injects everywhere. Jesus. Ugh. Yeah, this is great. I'm gonna work on this off stream, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I think that was really productive. We started a design, we came up with some really cool ideas for it, and then executed it. Yeah. See ya, guys. Yeah, see ya.